Let's analyze this. So, ESPN once again just recently did a feature on the women's triple threat main event of WrestleMania, the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championship match between Raw Women's Champion Ronda Rousey, SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair, and the man Becky Lynch. So, all three participants in the main event are going to discuss the importance of the match, not just for them, not just for WrestleMania, but for women around the world. Let's see what they have to say.
I'm going to embarrass and humiliate both Charlotte and Becky on the grandest stage of them all.
I am going to break your mystique. I am going to take your title.
What does being in the main event of WrestleMania mean
I came in there my first year, my first match, last year's WrestleMania, stole the whole show, and I knew in that moment that I could headline WrestleMania.
I am about to main event WrestleMania in front of 80,000 people.
It's about
Allegedly 80,000 people. As we all know, that number is going to be disputed about 5 minutes after the show goes off the air. Dave Meltzer going to be the first one to say, oh yeah, they lied. They lied about the attendance, of course. Oh man.
About building my own legacy because I have big shoes to fill.
Which they don't really necessarily lie about the attendance, they just add on to the attendance. That's what the WWE actually does. They don't just count the fans, they count ushers, people working in the concession stands, and all of that extra shit. Which I guess if you want to call it a lie, then yeah, whatever, it's fine.
Is the most incredible, humbling feeling in the entire world, because on one end, what happens after you achieve all your life goals?
You walk away and you try to achieve something else on a different platform and stage. But The Rock was a wonderkind, so not too many people get successful like him.
Come up with some new ones. And I feel like even the fact, everything about this just feels so synchronistic and so meant to be. And even the fact that New York was the first state that I ever came to when I came to America when I was like 7 years old, and just yeah, very grateful that this girl that was failing PE at 15 years old was somehow...
How the hell do you fail PE? Like, my brother is failing gym right now. That's some crazy shit. I have never failed gym in my entire life. I don't know how the rules are anymore in terms of the school system, but when I was in school, all you had to do was just show up to pass. You didn't really have to participate. As long as you showed up and they, took your attendance, you were gonna pass gym. How the fuck do you fail gym?
Become the best sports entertainer in the world. So much so that they couldn't deny the main event of WrestleMania.
It's almost hard to believe that I went from debuting last year to the main event this year, but I mean, I'm not...
It's not really hard to believe, because, you have a certain stock to your name. You are a financial corporate asset.
Surprised anymore by anything, and I've learned to stop doubting my own ability. Guilty for my own confidence, and just stop getting in my own way from achieving great things. And nothing is too ridiculous. No goal is too high or lofty, and that's not just for me. That's for anybody.
Growing.
Wait, before Charlie speaks, I just want to say, as an athlete, as a high-level, elite-level professional athlete, But really, in terms of any endeavor that you are in, you kind of have to be a little bit delusional. You have to be too confident to the point where people on the outside see it as arrogance. You have to overhype yourself, because that's the only way that you can really get into a locked mindset of focus and actually being able to achieve the things that you want to achieve in life that other people either didn't achieve or they think that you won't achieve. You kind of have to be a little bit crazy and delusional. Geniuses are often like that. People who see things from a, proper perspective, three-dimensional way of thinking. People who see things far ahead in advance, who have that high-level IQ mindset, they're often delusional people. But then they prove themselves right, and then they prove you right, and then they're no longer delusional. They're successful. So you got to turn that delusion into success. That's the best way to turn a negative into a positive, to turn a struggle into a success. You have to be delusional. Because the more delusional you are, the more you keep that locked mindset of I can do this, and this, the more you're going to be able to actually push yourself physically and mentally to be able to do it.
Growing up, watching Trish and Lita and Tori Wilson and Stacy Keibler, I just didn't see myself in that light. I thought, yeah.
You didn't watch TNA, Charlotte? You didn't watch TNA when your dad was there? Ruining his legacy? I mean, in my opinion, he didn't ruin his legacy, but in a lot of people's opinion, he ruined his legacy by going to TNA. Not just going to TNA, but actually wrestling in TNA. So you didn't watch TNA, Charlotte? Damn. Okay.
I could do all those moves because I grew up playing sports. I was a gymnast, played Division I volleyball at Appalachian State, but I didn't see myself as a diva or a model. And I said, I don't know, but then I go, you know what, maybe I will do this, and I can help my brother get on the right path. So here I am 7 years later. Long story short, my little brother, who realized this was a dream of mine and who opened the doors for me and realized that I could believe in myself. Hearing this later, main eventing WrestleMania, my little brother never saw me wrestle. So I am continuing the legacy while building my own. And so main eventing WrestleMania means so many things to me. It's about family. And we're going to prove to the world that in a male-dominated industry that we're all equal now. And that is the most important message.
I'm just going to say this. To me, I feel like it won't truly be equal until the women get paid more. They've got to get paid more. I saw the salary difference between the women and the men on the current roster, and it's borderline ridiculous. It's borderline ridiculous. And this isn't me being SJW or feminist. This is just, I'm stating the facts. It's ridiculous. The fact that Evolution last year, an all-women's pay-per-view, you could argue was the best pay-per-view of the year. Definitely top 2 out of all of the pay-per-views. The fact that that was one of the best pay-per-views of the year, if not the best, and seeing the women's salary compared to the men, even the men who aren't on TV, some of them get paid more than the women. And I'm talking about the jobbers, the mid-carders, the ones who are on main event and not on Raw or SmackDown every week. Some of them get paid more than the women. It's ridiculous.
How does it feel to know that you're sort of making an impact that will help inspire future generations, serving as a role model, both as people aspiring to do the sort of things that you're doing in WWE and outside?
I take so much pride in knowing that I can be a role model for little boys, little girls, and...
Damn, Charlotte, don't hit your microphone. You hit your microphone.
men and women in other industries, like men and women in other industries that have these creative dreams, that it's, you know what, just because someone else doesn't believe in you or believe that they can do it doesn't mean that you can't. And I hope that's really what my message is. It's no, if something sounds scary, say it, because that's usually when things like this happen, is because they are scary. And it's the ones who are willing to fall and fall and fall and fall that get to where they want to be.
My mother grew up in the Title IX era, and she wasn't allowed to do sports at all. And it was just because of luck that she was allowed to do judo, because her coach had a sister that needed someone to train with. And my mom worked her ass off every single day to make sure that me and my sisters had to deal with less bullshit than she did. And you know what? I inherited a big pile of bullshit, but it was less than what she had. I'm doing everything that I can to make sure that my daughters inherit a much smaller pile of bullshit than I did. And you know what? We're just going to keep that going forever and ever and ever and ever.
Okay, are you okay, Rhonda? You said bullshit like 4 times in one sentence.
Until we can actually reach that point where we have equal respect and equality. But you know, people forget how recently things were different. People forget how recently I was laughed out of every gym that I walked into and no one took me seriously. People forget how difficult it was to get anybody to cover women's MMA at all, or take women seriously in any kind of combat sport. And it's so encouraging how far we've come, but I'm still pissed off for greatness. It gives people...
Once again, people don't bring up TNA. I'm just saying, TNA did a lot for women's wrestling, especially in the 21st century. They took what was essentially nothing and made it into something that people could actually take seriously. Gail Kim, Mickie James, Victoria / Tara, ODB, Awesome Kong / Amazing Kong / Karma, whatever you want to call her. Those women, let's not forget about them. And this is coming from, you know, non-biased perspective here. Cannot discredit anybody for what they did, for what they helped build. There's a reason why Gail Kim's legacy is in TNA and not in the WWE. There's a reason why Mickie James had more classic matches and main events in TNA than in WWE. So TNA started where we are now with the women. Or I don't want to say started, but they helped rebuild to where we are now. The things that I'm saying right now, these are the reasons why I say that Trish Stratus and Lita are the 2 most overrated all-time greats that I've ever seen. Arguably in any other sport, in any sport.
Confidence, it gives people bravery to know that they can achieve the unthinkable. Because this was at one stage unthinkable, and to think about it being unthinkable right now is unthinkable, because of course we're going to be the main event of WrestleMania. Of course I'm going to be the main event of WrestleMania. Of course. But I think that goes with anybody who wants to achieve anything. Like, if you really just, you obsess about it and you be about it and you work for it, like you work for it, just anything's possible. Anything.
I'm going to...
Okay. So that was it for... I did not mean to stop right at Charlotte, but okay. So that was it for the women in the triple threat main event match for WrestleMania 35, discussing the importance. It is important. I will admit, this is the biggest step. This is probably the biggest gamble that the WWE has taken since WrestleMania 1, you could argue. And I look forward to not just this main event, but the entire show altogether. is going to be, we're going to witness greatness, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope that we all just buckle our seatbelts and enjoy the ride, because it's going to be a hell of a ride. I'm proud, you know, and I'm glad to see that things are changing for women in terms of business, in terms of sports and entertainment. It's nice. It's real nice. These three deserved it, or deserve it. You could argue that they deserve it more than any other female on the planet right now. Especially Becky Lynch, especially her, because she's been the hardest worker. Not to discredit or take anything away from Charlotte and Ronda, but Becky has had to work much harder with being, I don't want to say limited, but working much harder with less. So I'm out.